Good evening. Thank you for coming. Just bear with me for a second while I find my speech, which I must have forgotten. So I suppose this speech will have to be from the heart. Anyway, good evening. We're of course gathered today to remember our good friend Tommy, who passed away last week. He was a great friend to all of us. He was one of my closest friends. I'll never forget the day I met him. You know, in school, I used to do this joke. You're gonna love this. I used to go up to my friends and I would have my arms in my shirt and pretend I didn't have any arms, and they thought it was hilarious. You kind of had to look. Let me show you. Yeah, so I would go up to people like this. And they all thought it was hilarious. You kind of had to be there to understand. But one day in my class there was a boy who did the same joke. So I went over to him and I joined in. We were like two peas in a pod. We were getting along just fine. The only difference was he wasn't joking. The class had a similar reaction. But I tried to lighten the mood, and I went, "Would you like one of mine? They grow back." Anyway, the next day I tried to make it up to him. He kept falling off the swing, and I decided that I was going to give him a hand. So I got this skipping rope, and I tied him to the swing, and I gave him a big push. He seemed so happy. So I felt like we made amends, So everyone went home happy as Larry. That evening, my mum got a phone call. "Why is Tommy still at school? Tied to a swing?" So the next morning I had to apologize to Tommy. "Tommy, will you forgive me?" He left me hanging, just like I did to him. Well played. Anyway, just let me just wrap things up with something nice that he did for me once. He was always very helpful to me. One day my car would not start, so I needed Tommy's help. "Tommy, could you give me a hand? Or whatever's left of you." So I asked him to lay underneath the car to watch the engine as I turned the car on. So I turned on the engine. It was working perfectly. "Thanks, Tommy. You can come out from under there now. I'm reversing." And that brings us here today. Anyway, but before I go, I would like to say to you all from the bottom of my heart. Oh. Found my speech, Dad.